Part 36. Being a Bug in a Survival Game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 355. In addition, His Majesty has ordered that whichever brave man can retrieve the orb and obtain the brave heart will bring a blessing to the Mermaid Kingdom. The Mermaid Kingdom can use all its strength to satisfy the brave man's arbitrary demands. The Great Mermaid Elder suddenly threw a bomb, and all the players' eyes suddenly lit up. Could it be that the professions in this round of dungeons can be obtained from the mermaids? The players' attitudes became even more enthusiastic, and they couldn't wait to find the orbs immediately. Great Elder, don't worry, I will definitely find the orb for the Mermaid Kingdom. I hope I can do my little bit to help the Mermaid Kingdom find the orb. The Great Elder Mermaid looked at the players who had become extremely enthusiastic in front of him with a smile on his face, and he slowly spoke. Back then, Princess Neely carried the purifying conch to some places. Over the years, we have successively sent people to search for the routes that Princess Neely has taken and searched many areas. So far, there are 4 areas that we have not searched for, and the orbs are likely to be lost in these 4 areas. Some players couldn't wait to ask, Great Elder, where are the 4 areas? How to get there? Don't worry, I'll tell you one by one. The Great Elder of the Mermaid stroked his beard and began to talk slowly. Except for Princess Nelly back then, the 4 areas that no mermaids have ever set foot on are, Purple Coral Forest, Lost Desert City, Dragon Clan Crystal Palace, and Venado Islands. First, the Purple Coral Forest grows densely with purple corals. Among them, there are countless poisonous ivy trees and poisonous insects and fish lurking in the dark. However, any foreign creature that gets lost and enters here will most likely be unable to return. Escape. However, dangerous places are often accompanied by unexpected opportunities. Most of the creatures or plants in the Purple Coral Forest have extremely high nutritional value. In addition, there are many precious materials that can temper the body or assist in witchcraft practice. In the Purple Coral Forest, the Mermaid Kingdom can only linger on the outermost periphery at best, and has not yet been able to explore the depths. Second, the Lost City is said to be the country of Atlantis that gave birth to the splendid civilization in ancient times. Later, it experienced decline and annihilation. The precious civilization of Atlantis disappeared in the long river of history. More than 1,000 years ago, the lost city mysteriously appeared and restored its former prosperity and brilliance. However, it could only exist for one night. After dawn, it disappeared without a trace again, and in the 200 years since the orb was lost, the lost city has not existed. Appeared once. The frequency of each appearance of the lost city is about 200 years apart. The last time it appeared, Princess Nelly happened to go in. Today, 200 years later, the lost city is likely to appear again. The approximate time is during this half of the year. Within months. Third, the Dragon Clan Crystal Palace is a settlement of the Dragon Clan, one of the overlords of the deep sea. It is also as exclusive as the Mermaid Kingdom, and very few outsiders can enter this place. However, Princess Nelly unexpectedly made an acquaintance with the little prince of the Dragon Clan. Relying on the latter's background relationship, she was lucky enough to enter the Dragon Clan's Crystal Palace. Originally, because of the friendship between Princess Nelly and the little prince of the Dragon Clan, the Dragon Clan should have welcomed us mermaids to enter. However, since Princess Nelly became a sinner in the Mermaid Kingdom, and the angry people demanded that she be imprisoned for 500 years, the little Dragon Clan, when the prince learned about this, he was extremely disgusted with the mermaids, and the Dragon Clan also sided with the little prince of the Dragon Clan and refused to allow the second mermaid to enter the Dragon Clan's Crystal Palace. Being a Bug in a Survival Game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 356. Fourth, the Venado Islands belong to a human nation called Venado, and the land and nearby sea areas occupied by the humans are basically restricted areas in the eyes of marine life, let alone ordinary marine life, even for a short period of time. The advanced marine creatures that transformed into human forms also avoided human settlements. Back then, out of curiosity, the young Princess Nelly turned into a human and slipped onto the Venado Islands. In the past 200 years, the human race on the Venado Islands has developed rapidly and invented various detection machines. It is no longer a place where marine creatures can come and go at will. If the true identity of marine creatures is discovered on land, they will almost become pets in the hands of humans or delicacies on the dinner table. The Great Mermaid Elder told the players the information about these 4 areas in every detail. Finally, the Mermaid Elder gave each player a map. Great Elder, let's set off now and strive to find the lost orb for the Mermaid Kingdom as soon as possible. Although these 4 areas sound very dangerous, they still cannot stop the rising enthusiasm of most players. Thank you, all brave men. The Great Elder of the Mermaid bent down and bowed deeply. Heroes, you might as well rest here for a while before setting off to find the orb. Ken. Then excuse me. Players are also extremely curious about the Mermaid Kingdom. Until now, Sutinyu had noticed that this copy world seemed unusual. After visiting the murals, the Mermaid Elder takes the players to a banquet that was just set up for the braves to cleanse themselves from the dust. The news of the heroes' arrival in the Mermaid Kingdom gradually spread, attracting more and more mermaids to the banquet, wanting to see the heroes' heroic appearance. At this banquet, the Mermaid Queen appeared again, but she just went through the motions and left after saying a few words. Sutinyu frowned slightly as she watched the Mermaid Queen gradually disappear. It stands to reason that the mermaids in the Mermaid Kingdom all respect the brave, even the Mermaid Great Elder who is just below them, but only the Mermaid Queen has a mediocre reaction. If you are the king of a country and want to maintain the majesty of the king, then there is nothing wrong with it, but Sutinyu still felt strange. At the banquet, the mermaids presented many special delicacies of their own country, but all of them were raw. But in public, the players could only bite the bullet and eat some small fish and shrimps. The banquet was held for a day and a night before it ended. The players, who were exhausted physically and mentally, fell down and fell asleep as soon as they arrived at the residence arranged by the mermaids. Sutinyu was also assigned a residence, and the indoor environment was pretty good. Thank you. Sutinyu thanked him. You're welcome, noble Lord Brave. The mermaid maid folded her hands on her belly button and lowered her eyebrows. If you need anything, Lord Brave, just ring the bell beside the bed. Sutinyu turned to look in the direction pointed by the mermaid maid. She said it was a bed, but it was actually a huge empty shell with soft seaweed inside, and various colors of corals decorating the outside of the shell. And on a flat stone next to the shell, there was a bell. Okay, Sutinyu responded. After the mermaid maid left, Sutinyu walked around the room. After confirming that there was nothing wrong, Sutinyu sat in the big shell and began to digest the information he had received so far. Ever since the mission looking for the heart of the brave was refreshed, there has been no response. Sutinyu was curious about the 8 qualities required for the heart of the brave. What are the criteria for judging them? What can I do to get the conch token recognized? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 357. The 8 qualities. It seems that when the Mermaid Queen met the player for the first time, in addition to the Great Elder Mermaid, there were 8 other mermaids present. They are all related to the number 8. Sutinyu blinked her big eyes and wrinkled her face. He paused. Would you like to take a stroll in the Mermaid Kingdom first? The 8 qualities are really too vague and mysterious. The key point is that Sutinyu thinks that he already has the 8 excellent qualities, but the conch token does not recognize it and does not shine, so there is no way. Hey, do you want me to learn from Uncle Lei? Do good things and do good deeds. As soon as this idea came to his mind, Sotingu immediately shook his head. Impossible, how can any token be so careless? Before he finished speaking, the conch on Sotingu's chest suddenly flashed. Sotingu who accidentally saw it? Sotingu jumped up violently. Then, she observed the conch repeatedly, staring straight at the conch, but there was nothing abnormal, as if the flash just now was just an illusion of hers. This thing. Sotingu blinked her big eyes. Is it possible that even conch has discovered my excellence and recognized me? The great mermaid elder mentioned that the conch's glow is recognition of equality. At this time, Sotingu strategically ignored that among the 8 qualities on the mural, none of them were represented by white. Sotingu nodded to himself. That must be the case. Hey, as a human being too good is also a kind of worry. Just as Sotingu finished sighing sincerely, the conch in his hand suddenly seemed to be malfunctioning, flashing and shining. Ahem, it flashed white light crazily, as if to express something. Well, conch recognizes me. Sotingu pretended to be serious for a few seconds, then suddenly beamed. So, Sotingu saw that the conch that was flashing crazily 1 second was like a defeated rooster the next second. It stopped and continued to pretend to be dead, and even revealed a faint expression of "I'm not going to live anymore." Hit me bar has a world-weary and decadent atmosphere. Illusions, they are all illusions. Well, Sotingu admitted that it was still a bit difficult for conch to realize his excellence all of a sudden. After all, we have only been together for a short time, so we need to give conch some time to accept this ironclad fact. After having fun directing and acting, Sotingu just opened the door and walked out, only to find 2 mermaid guards standing at the door. When the mermaid guard saw Sotingu, he immediately stretched out his trident and blocked the latter's way. "Dear Lord Brave, is there something wrong with you coming out?" Sotingu blinked her big eyes, and glanced at the 2 expressionless mermaid guards. If they hadn't added the honorific at the beginning, it would have felt a bit like being under house arrest. "Oh, I'm a little bored in the house and wanted to come out for some air," Sotingu explained angrily, thinking that it was time to let her go now. Unexpectedly, the 2 mermaid guards were like a muscle, saying in unison with no expression on their faces, "The great elder has given an order. The brave adults need to have a good rest so that they can hit the road with full energy tomorrow. Forward. I'm just going for a walk and then come back. I won't waste much time." Sotingu was still trying to persuade. But no matter what Sotingu said, the 2 mermaid guards still didn't take a step back. Sotingu felt depressed. Knock, knock, knock. "I seem a little sleepy, I'd better go back and rest." Sotingu turned around and stretched, pretending to be very sleepy on his face, and suppressing the idea of knocking the fish in his heart. After Sotingu returned to the room, his expression darkened slightly. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 358. The more I look at this, the less it seems like the attitude I should have when entertaining guests. Sotingu sat back on the big shell again, and suddenly his expression paused. Etc. The chiefs of the 8 tribes I saw in the main hall yesterday, the color of their fish tails seems to be the same as the colors corresponding to the 8 qualities. Sotingu gradually wrinkled her face. If the 2 are really related, then imagine more boldly. The color of the fish tail corresponds to the 8 qualities. Which color of the fish tail a mermaid has? Does it mean that the mermaid has the same color of quality? The color of the mermaid elder's fish tail, if I remember correctly, is purple. The color purple represents wisdom. The mermaid queen's fish tail seems to be golden. There are no windows in the room. If you want to get out, you can only go through the door, but there are guards at the door. Sotingu waited for a long time. When the mermaid guards changed shifts several times, she didn't find an opportunity to sneak out quietly. In desperation, Sotingu chose to rest and wait until tomorrow. As soon as daybreak came, all the players' doors were knocked by mermaid guards. Sutingyu rubbed her eyes and stood up, walked out and opened the door. Master Brave, it's time for you to set off outside the door, the mermaid guard said in a firm tone. Okay. Sutingyu glanced at the color of the fishtails of the two mermaid guards, one pink and one blue. Among the 8 qualities, pink represents kindness and blue represents compassion. However, it doesn't look like he has a friendly or compassionate personality. After coming out, Sutingyu looked left and right, but there were very few mermaid figures on the street. Most of the ones he met were mermaid guards on patrol. Poisonous insect. Sutingyu had just passed by a mermaid house when a burst of frightened screams erupted inside. Immediately afterwards, a mermaid with a red fishtail broke out of the door. When he saw the mermaid guards, he immediately hid behind them, his body trembling. A mermaid with a blue fishtail slowly swam out of the room. He was holding a small black insect in his hand and laughed wildly on his face. Ha ha ha, coward. Master Brave is here, don't mess around, the mermaid guard scolded. Yong-sama. Master Brave, I'm sorry. Sutingyu looked at the two mermaids and kept bending down to apologize, and finally swam back to the house dejectedly. But Sutingyu didn't even have time to say a word. Master Brave, you can continue on your way. After the interlude, the mermaid guard's expression returned to normal. Okay, what else could Sutingyu say? She could only nod in agreement. Unexpectedly, Sutingyu was sent out of the mermaid kingdom just like this. Before leaving, the great mermaid elder came to see the players off and warned. Dear heroes, if there is an orb nearby, the conch token will give prompt feedback in time. In addition, if you want to better achieve the effect of training, you can go alone. Then as the great elder said, we will all be separated. No problem, I'm enough on my own. Thank you, great elder, for the reminder. The players vowed to make a promise, and they just beat their chests to guarantee it. Walking alone. Sutingyu muttered silently in his heart, but didn't really care. Just one person. Just think of it as a quick trip. Brave fish, not afraid of difficulties. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-K. Chapter 359. After coming out of the Mermaid Kingdom, the players scattered in all directions, but there were some players who gathered together furtively. Brother Lu, do we really have to leave separately? It's just a lie to the NPC. Do you believe this? Hey, Brother Lu is wise. Brother Lu, there are 4 places, where should we go first? Of course we should go to the Venato Islands. There are still humans living there on land, so it is definitely safer and more convenient than in the sea. In the token copy, there are also players who have confirmed their alliance in advance. When the Great Mermaid Elder said later that they wanted to separate, it went in with the left ear and out with the right ear. Let's go, it's killing me in the sea. The raw fish at the banquet still smelled fishy. I almost spit it out after taking one bite. 4 or 5 players put their arms around each other and headed upstream in the direction indicated by the map. At this moment, the conch hanging on their waist suddenly flashed with a gray light. For just a few seconds, the surface of the conch, as white as jade, seemed to dim. On the other side, Sutingyu made a big circle and quietly ran back to the Mermaid Kingdom. Sutingyu stopped in front of the protective cover, took out a red and white sun hat from the inventory, and put it on his forehead. Props, a hat that becomes invisible when you put it on. Grade, rare. Function, it is said that this is a hat that will magically disappear when you put it on and say you can't see me, and the hat silently it lasts for 1 hour and cools down for 5 hours. Durability, 90%, reparable. Remarks, as for how to track and pee without being discovered, it is what it is. This game prop was one of Sutingyu's trophies on Children's Day. Because it had an interesting function, Sutingyu kept the hat. You can't see me and the hat, you can't see me and the hat, You can't see me and the hat. Sutinyu muttered silently in his heart, his figure became transparent little by little, and finally disappeared completely. In the land of mermaids. Sutinyu slipped in quietly. At this time, there were more mermaid figures on every street. Sutinyu turned around and looked around. Teams of mermaid guards patrol or station at key street entrances with expressionless faces. The colors of the fishtails are generally blue for mercy and pink for friendliness. Mermaids with brave red and unyielding golden tails are either timid or cowardly, and most of them are the targets of bullying and ridicule by other mermaids. The mermaid with the green integrity fishtail tells lies continuously without blinking an eye. The mermaid with the orange humble fishtail looks arrogant, with her nostrils pointing up in the air, and starts fishing when she disagrees. Whenever there is a conflict between mermaids, the mermaid with the yellow justice fishtail will come out first to maintain order, but in every word and deed, he always favors the stronger party or the close party. Sutinyu took in the scene and felt filled with doubts. Slowly, a guess emerged in Sutinyu's mind. Sutinyu was going to find the Mermaid Queen or the Great Mermaid Elder. They are obviously the two most powerful mermaids in the Mermaid Kingdom, but they have completely different attitudes towards players, one is distant and the other is enthusiastic. The Mermaid Palace is in the most conspicuous place, and Sutinyu has just left, so the route is not unfamiliar. Soon, Sutinyu arrived in front of the palace. It had already taken almost 10 minutes to reach the palace gate from the Mermaid Kingdom, and Sutinyu only had about 40 minutes to explore. Once the time is up, you must leave the Mermaid Kingdom within the last 10 minutes when the hat function fails. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being a Bug in a Survival Game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 360. In the main hall. The Mermaid Queen was elegant, and she was not angry. She sat on the throne and said calmly, "Have you all left?" "Yes, Your Majesty." The great elder of the mermaid bowed slightly and raised his hand to stroke his beard. "I hope that among this group of outsiders, a qualified hero will emerge." The Mermaid Queen frowned slightly, with a hint of worry in her tone. "Time is urgent, so make secondary preparations. If all these aliens fail the test, then..." Sutinyu dodged several groups of patrolling mermaid guards and spent almost 10 minutes before approaching the main hall. However, the guard force inside the palace is smaller than the guard force in the outer protective cover area. The mermaid guard in front of the palace gate had been called away by the Great Mermaid Elder inside. Now, it was convenient for Sutinyu to eavesdrop. Some subtle sounds came from inside the ajar door of the palace. Sutinyu had just arrived and didn't hear them clearly. However, she recognized the owner of the voice, who happened to be the Mermaid Queen and Mermaid Elder she was looking for. "What are you discussing?" Sutinyu muttered in his mind, and quietly put his head in. "Princess Nelly, have you ordered anyone to take care of her?" the Mermaid Queen's cold voice sounded. Princess Nelly? Princess Nelly, who stole the purifying conch and then went out for a walk to have fun? Sutinyu subconsciously pricked up his ears. The Great Mermaid Elder replied, "Your Majesty, don't worry, I will personally watch over there to make sure nothing goes wrong. Well, of those aliens, I hope one of them can become a brave." The Mermaid Queen raised her hand and rubbed the center of her brow. A hint of fatigue flashed across her face. "Your Majesty, please pay attention to your self-cultivation," the Great Mermaid Elder said. "Elder Lau is worried. Whether it's for our homeland or for Poseidon, I will support you until the moment the hero appears." Outside the palace door, Sutinyu felt a chill in his heart. Alien. Does it mean us players? Did the mermaids already know the player's identity from the beginning? No, it's just a foreigner. It confirms at most that the players are not from this world, let alone the so-called braves. But, Sutingyu didn't understand one thing. The Mermaid Queen and the Mermaid Great Elder had been worrying about whether the real brave man could appear, and they didn't even mention the missing orb at all. Sutingyu looked left and right, and when the hem of her skirt was slightly lifted, she finally determined the color of the Mermaid Queen's tail. It is golden and unyielding. Because the skirt is very long and wide, it drags on the ground. It is difficult to see the fish tail underneath when not moving much. Moreover, the skirt is the same color of gold, so Sutingyu didn't have much impression at first. Sutingyu eavesdropped for a while longer, and the content of the subsequent conversation was no longer about the brave man. What's going on with the 8 major tribes recently? It's a little unclear, and it's still getting worse. 2 days ago, there was another group of guard members whose hearts and souls were completely infected, and could no longer continue to work as guards. Seeing that time was running out, Sutingyu quietly left the place, wanting to look for new clues elsewhere. There seems to be something wrong with the Mermaid Kingdom. Sutingyu thought to himself based on the information he overheard on the way. Could it be that only the appearance of a brave man can save the Mermaid Kingdom? Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 361. Before the Hat Statute of Limitations expired, Sutingyu left the Mermaid Kingdom. This trip-in was a small gain, but more doubts also appeared. Sutingyu temporarily came to a conclusion: for the Mermaid Kingdom, the appearance of the brave seems to be more important than recovering the orb. All the mysteries of the Mermaid Kingdom can only be revealed when Sutingyu becomes a brave man. While eavesdropping outside the main hall, if it weren't for Sutingyu's restless little thoughts controlled by Sutingyu's secret prodding, she would have really wanted to break in on the spot and make friendly inquiries. In the 8-star dungeon, the NPC seems to be able to tell that the player is from another world. Sutingyu suddenly had a terrifying thought in his mind. Will this round of dungeons be a real world? Sutingyu activated his belt and set off towards the purple coral forest marked on the map. Along the way, Sutingyu carefully felt the surrounding seawater, sunshine, seaweed, groups of small fish, and lone crabs. All of this was very real. Could it be that these are all fabricated from game data? In the previous rounds of dungeons, there was still the feeling of being enveloped by the game, but in this round of professional dungeons, the sense of existence of the game seems to have been weakened. Hey, forget it, Sutingyu struggled for a while and then put the lingering doubts behind her. The most important thing now is the copy task at hand. As for the truth behind it, as the contact continued to deepen, Sutingyu believed that one day, she would catch the game's little braid. Speaking of which, I have to thank the game. Sutingyu blinked his big eyes. If it hadn't been for the advent of games, how boring would her life have been? Then he won't know Kikai and Fatty. Thinking of this, Sutingyu suddenly felt that U11 was a good guy. 2 hours later, Sutingyu changed the waterproof bead once, his face full of distress, and he lost the leisurely and carefree mind he had at first. Oh my god, this is outrageous. Ridiculous. Sutingyu had an angry look on his face and stared at the map in his hand. Come on. Isn't this thing called a map? Doesn't she have a map? How could she get lost? Sutingyu felt like her mentality was a bit broken. The place where she stopped now was not unfamiliar at all. Sutingyu returned to this place 4 times. Especially the small piece of coral on the side, which should be ordinary and no one cares about it, but Sutingyu already looks familiar, so familiar that he wants to pull it out. This cheating map must be that group of mermaids. They gave me a fake map. Oh! Sutingyu howled angrily. Who the hell is quarreling with me? Don't you know I'm sleeping? At this time, a rough voice suddenly sounded from behind Sutingyu. Sutingyu turned around and saw a large shark with a length of more than 10 meters, with a fierce look on its face. Oh! So it's a small human race. When the big shark saw Sutingyu for the first time, his pupils shrank, and then he realized that Sotinyu was such a small one, and he didn't seem to feel any threat at all. As a result, the big shark became infinitely arrogant again. "Little one, you're unlucky. I just woke up, and my stomach is growling with hunger. I'll give you a tooth-slapping ceremony." The big shark looked at Sotinyu with an extremely arrogant attitude. "It's like looking at a snack." I looked back at the detailed outline of the 8 qualities in front and found that I missed one of the qualities of unyielding gold. All in all, it's not a big problem. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 362. Sotinyu tilted his head in confusion, and then, silently, he took out a chopstick from the inventory. The big shark's eyes fell on the chopsticks. He was slightly startled, and then laughed loudly. "You are still such a sensible little snack. Are you going to use it as a toothpick for me to pick my teeth?" Smiling, Big Shark glanced out of the corner of his eye and suddenly saw that the toothpick on Little Dim Sum's hand suddenly grew longer and thicker. 1 meter, 2 meters, 3 meters, 4 meters. The big shark's eyes widened, and just when he opened his mouth to say something, his abdomen was suddenly hit hard by an elongated toothpick. Puff. The undigested food residue in the big shark's stomach was spit out. Even though its huge body was in the water, it was knocked back several meters. The big shark fell on the coral reef and smashed a corner of the coral reef. Wow! Damn it! After coming back to his senses, the big shark suddenly became furious. "Just a little snack. I caught you at this time." The big shark felt his tail was pinched, and a clear and cheerful voice sounded from behind. Immediately afterwards, the big shark discovered in horror. He spun. Ah! In his ears, there was the scream of a big shark, but Sotinyu, who was holding the shark's tail and spinning the fish in circles, turned a deaf ear. After almost turning, Sotinyu released his claws, and the dazed shark flew straight out and fell to the ground. Sotinyu picked up the 10-meter stick and started swinging the stick a few meters away from the big shark. Fatty beats the shark's head. "Ouch, ouch, ouch, I'm going to eat you. Ouch, ouch, I was wrong, I was wrong. Ouch, ouch, Auntie, please spare me." 2 hours later, Sotinyu rode a scarred big shark to the purple coral forest. "Ouch!" Sotinyu gnawed on a piece of bread, and immediately her hunger disappeared and she regained her strength. Sotinyu bent down and patted the big shark on the head. "How long until we reach the purple coral forest?" "Auntie, hurry up, Big Shark immediately replied with a flattering tone. Sotinyu frowned and raised his mouth slightly. "Big Shark is stupid, you said the same thing half an hour ago. This time it's true." "It'll be here soon," the big shark assured. "Then I'll trust you again." Good, good." The big shark secretly breathed a sigh of relief, and then continued to speed up desperately. Sotinyu, who was on the shark's back, lay down directly now, with a look of relaxation and enjoyment on his face. In the past 2 hours, Sotinyu spent a lot of effort and words, and finally moved the big shark to send her to the purple coral forest. So, it became the current situation. From the big shark's mouth, Sotinyu gradually learned some information about the purple coral forest. Not all the corals in the purple coral forest are purple, but once the blood of animals is stained on the corals will suck the blood within a few seconds, and then the appearance will turn purple. The name purple coral comes from this. The word forest is added at the end because the corals there grow extremely vigorously. The average height of the corals is 4 to 5 meters. Once you enter it, it feels like you have entered a land forest. In addition to the ordinary purple coral, there are also various poison ivy and exotic trees inside. When Big Shark talked about it, he also bluntly said that he did not dare to go in. Even if Sotinyu beat him to death, he would not be able to accompany Sotinyu. Got in. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 363. With no other choice, Sotinyu had no choice but to kill him. He waited until he reached the outskirts of the purple coral forest and let the poor shark go. After another half hour, Sotinyu glanced ahead boredly, and suddenly his expression paused. Within sight, rows of coral gradually appeared. As the distance continues to shorten, the height of the coral in the distance seems to be increasing. It's here. The big shark panted and shouted excitedly. Poseidon! Let this inhuman monster go now. Naturally, Sotinyu would not know the big shark's prayers, but he could also detect the former's eagerness to escape. Sotinyu swam off the shark's back and patted the big shark's head. Thank you, Dasha. I will definitely repay you when I have the chance. A charming smile appeared on Big Shark's face, and he shook his head quickly. No, no, no. I am extremely happy to serve my aunt. Ahem, the little one is leaving now. We will see you again. With a whoosh, the big shark ran away, fearing that Sotinyu would suddenly change his mind and drag him into the purple coral forest to bury Yusheng. Sotinyu blinked his big eyes, looked at the reluctant back of Big Shark, and sighed, it's a pity, I haven't asked where Dasha's family lives yet. I'll drop by when I have time. Coming. Sotinyu turned his head, glanced at the dead purple coral forest in front of him, and swam in with a curious expression on his face. On a large tree in full swing, strings of canes hang upside down from each branch. On the canes are blooming red flowers, and the innermost stamens are exuding a hint of sweet fragrance. Occasionally, some small fish are so fascinated by the fragrance that they can't find their way and plunge into the flowers. The blooming petals close at this moment. After a while, a slight chewing sound came from inside. When the flower bud opened again, there was no fish inside. At the top of the big tree, among the lush branches and leaves, are revealing the delicate red fruits. From a distance, they look like a ball of flickering flames. This is really a tree in the distance. Sotinyu, who had just come in not long ago, saw at first sight this very conspicuous fire tree that was growing very well. Sotinyu held the nearly 2-meter-long meteor rod in his hand and casually dropped it to the sand at his feet. A dark tentacle just emerged from the sand, trying to wrap itself around Sotinyu's ankles silently. Boom! The end of the meteor rod hit the tentacle exactly, and the exposed tentacle suddenly tightened in pain, like a black line that was instantly pulled straight. Sotinyu walked forward and picked up the Liu stick that had just landed on the ground. Zixi! The black tentacles quickly burrowed back into the sand and were never exposed again. After Sotinyu got closer, he heard a cry for help coming from the fire tree. Sotinyu looked intently. Help, Weavua! A cry came from the fire tree, and a figure with 2 horns on its head, who looked like an underage child of the human race, was tied to the tree with a cane. On the bed, he was crying and even stuttered, I'm not good, eat well. An old face appeared on the main trunk of the fire tree. He laughed wildly, a rare and precious dragon meat. Old tree, I am very lucky today, haha. And I. At this time, the dead vines on Huash's body moved, and he actually spoke, you can't take this little dragon cub by yourself. Huasha said, don't worry, my old partner will definitely have your share. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 364. Hey, what's going on? Just when the tree demon and the vine monster were discussing how to distribute this special prey, a clear and sweet voice of doubt suddenly sounded in front of them. The tree demon, the vine monster, and the tied young man with dragon horns looked over at the same time. The young man with dragon horns had hope in his eyes. Is there a fish coming to save him? But when he saw Sutingyu, his eyes glazed over. A short, cute, and harmless-looking little girl, even very cute and delicate? That's it? Most of the fire of hope in the dragon-horned boy's eyes dissipated. At this time, Dryad and Tengzi breathed a sigh of relief at the same time. They thought the dragon clan had discovered it, and a large wave of large and thick savage dragons broke in. The result was a frail little girl. This is a human cub. There are no characteristics of other races, how come there are humans here? However, the tree demon and vine monster were a little confused about Sutingyu's identity. This is the deep sea. Under the sea. This human kid isn't wearing a diving suit, so why is he here? No matter. Brother Tang, it's just an appetizer delivered to your door. Why don't you take this human cub to pad your belly before eating the dragon cub? The tree demon suggested. The vine monster happily accepted, okay. Sutingyu was suddenly included in the recipe. The depressed Sutingyu knocked the ground hard with his meteor stick. On the ground, a little bit of black tentacles tentatively showed up, but they were suddenly hit one after another. So, he quietly slipped back into the ground again. Hey, you little bastard, are you still playing with a stick? Ha ha ha. Both the tree demon and the vine monster laughed, not taking Sutingyu seriously at all. But actually, the tree roots under the tree demon extended out, covering all the ground around Sutingyu. The inconspicuous vines of the vine monster also extended out and floated in the water, like a group of snakes dancing around, firmly blocking the path Sutingyu came from. When the tied young man with dragon horns saw this situation, the hope in his eyes was completely extinguished, and he looked angry. You, why are you standing there stupidly? Why are you still not running away? Dragon cub, shut up, or I'll swallow you up right now, the tree demon threatened the dragon-horned boy. The boy stuttered as soon as he opened his mouth. The sound alone annoyed the tree so much. As soon as he was frightened by the tree demon, the young man with dragon horns burped and said aggrievedly, Don't eat me, Weavua, I will no. Never come here again. Father, save the child. I will never run away from home again. I'll never talk back to you again. Only my father is good in the world. Oh. The boy with dragon horns was already crying for his father. He seemed to be convinced that he had no way to survive, and he unconsciously reflected on Longsheng. Tisk. Sutingyu glanced at the young man with dragon horns who was crying heartbrokenly, and sighed slightly. Sure enough. This fairy is kind-hearted and does not want to see children crying. Sutingyu put away the meteor rod and took out the death blade that had just been mutated and upgraded. Although tree demons and vine monsters are not undead monsters, to deal with flowers and plants, for the death blade, it is not enough to have a blade. The death blade that Sutingyu took out still looked like an ordinary sickle. This was also the camouflage effect of the death blade's own obscene development.